Welcome to Politics Broadcast News Network, where real reporting is our top priority. First, we'll focus on the presidential race and the policies of both major party candidates. The planks of Republican candidate Nikki Haley's campaign include ensuring equality in education and securing that the American dream is fulfilled for all Americans. Let's take a look.
It brings me great joy to be able to work for the American people and do everything in my power to allow each and every individual in the United States to pursue their goals. And that is why I'm proud to stand before you all this morning and announce that I, Nikki Haley, am running for President of the United States.
So what are the major planks of your campaign platform?
As I said in my speech, my three priorities are cutting taxes to reduce the burden on the American middle class, expanding opportunities for children by improving our education system, and fostering positive relationships in the Middle East.
Democratic candidate Cory Booker, meanwhile, introduced his ideas to immediately address the opioid crisis, affordable housing, and anti-terrorism legislation. He is a strong advocate of working with the people.
I am not running against one person, one ideal, or one party, but against the perilous course of the disastrous policies enacted to divide the peoples of this country and this world. I helped bring affordable housing downtown, which welcomed not only new residents, but new educators who brought quality education to each and every New York public school student. As senator, I have sponsored the Comprehensive Addiction Recovery Act, a law passed to address the opioid crisis that has effects nationwide. I've also fought to provide justice for the victims of terrorism by co-sponsoring the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act. When we do good by our neighbors and they do good by theirs, this is when we may call ourselves Americans. And this is why I am running. Thank you.
Up next, interviews with politicians and their takes on this race for the leader of our country, which sure is starting to heat up.
Hi, I'm Haley Bruckner reporting for Pbnn here live at Cory Booker's campaign kickoff, where we will be interviewing various politicians about Cory Booker's campaign.
I'm really excited. I'm very excited to endorse Cory Booker as the next U.S. president, and I was very intrigued by his comments on improving the quality of life in inner cities, focusing on affordable housing and education for all.
I think it was definitely an interesting event to take part in. It was interesting looking at the background and how they delivered their speeches. I think it really gave an insight into what each candidate was going to prioritize, but I am looking forward to the further elaborating on the policy issues.
I think that both candidates were very professional. I think that they both had decent speeches. However, I preferred Cory Booker because his ideals align with mine, and I think that he shows a lot of promise in this campaign.
Hi, I'm Sienna Park-Pearson for Pbnn here at Nikki Haley's campaign kickoff.
Well, I am currently very excited for Nikki Haley's announcement. She mentioned tax cuts, which is I'm a huge advocate for. I think the American people deserve them, and I think taking money needlessly away from middle-class people is incorrect. I'm excited for both announcements. It should be a good race. I believe both candidates are qualified, but Nikki Haley really supports the Republican ideal and honestly the American ideal.
Well, I am 100% committed to Cory Booker's campaign. Also, I'm a little bit miffed at Nikki Haley's statement. She said that some opponents only care about money and their self-interests. But I'd like to say that Cory Booker and I have both sworn off of all corporate PAC donations. I'm 100% committed to this campaign.
With steam picking up on both campaigns, Ralph Nader, an independent, emerged as a surprise third-party candidate in the race for the presidency.
As you have probably heard, my name is Ralph Nader, and I am announcing today that I am leaving Nikki Haley's campaign, where I was formerly Foreign and Domestic Policy Coordinator.
He initially announced his candidacy running as a Green Party nominee until he succeeded Booker as the Democratic nominee. However, Booker is still on the campaign trail.
I have selected a vice president, and I am pleased to announce that Senator Cory Booker will be joining my campaign as my vice presidential candidate. So Cory, if you want to come up and speak real quick.
Plot twist.
Sir.
I stand here today, proud to announce that the full weight of my campaign is now behind Ralph Nader.
Previously, I supported Mr. Booker because of his very moderate campaign. He supported a lot of very moderate takes on issues, but now that he has begun to support a more extremist campaign, I don't think that I can continue to support him.
I was initially completely shocked. I was not expecting this at all, considering I was on the short list for vice presidential candidates. So I was very much surprised, but then I was very soon after excited, because I think that this partnership has a lot of potential to bring voters to the Democratic Party and progress to the American people.
Paul Ryan was announced as Nikki Haley's vice presidential candidate pick.
Finally, I'd like to make an announcement that we've all been waiting for several days now. After careful deliberation with my fellow politicians and with my campaign team, I would like to announce my vice presidential nomination for this campaign. I'm very excited to announce that Representative Paul Ryan, who is the Speaker of the House, will be joining me on this campaign. Representative Ryan embodies many of the same ideals for the future of this country as I do, and I'm excited to go forward with him and work with him to make this country even better than it already is.
Pbnn additionally gained exclusive access to an interview with nominees Nader and Booker. Let's see what the candidates have to say.
So I'm here with Cory Booker and Ralph Nader. So Mr. Booker, how did you make the decision to move over to Nader's campaign?
So when Mr. Nader announced his candidacy, I knew that this was a private citizen who had a record of meaningful and deep change and was an idol to millions of Americans. Here we have a man of great ambition who knows how to protect the citizens of this country and pass legislation for the people. And I sit down with talks with Mr. Nader, and we went back and forth a lot about discussing how our policies overlap, especially the areas of environmental reform. And we discussed about merging our campaigns. So being each other's running mates, deciding who would actually be running as president. And in the end, I think one of the deciding factors was Mr. Nader's pristine accomplishments as a private citizen, getting things done, promoting the policies that will protect the people. And that was something that I admired at a level that I cannot overstate. And that's why I decided to join his campaign.
Plan to push any of your policies that don't overlap with Nader's throughout his campaign?
So I think one of the major things people will be looking at is criminal justice reform. And I believe that criminal justice reform is extremely pertinent for the American people. However, Mr. Nader does make a good point that it has been widely accepted that criminal justice reform, needs to be implemented. Change is something that we need on a multilateral level, and almost all Americans know this. And as such, it will be a part of the presidency, but we'll be focusing on more polarizing, well, not necessarily polarizing, but more pertinent issues to the American people during the process of this campaign.
I think a question that's been on a lot of people's minds, how are you planning to conduct your campaign financing?
We want to get as much campaign contribution as possible. We think it's important that this is a grassroots campaign, that we think it's important big businesses can't just buy us out. But if there are people who we are in line with, or PACs that we have common ground with, then we will absolutely accept that money. Our job here in this campaign is first and foremost to push for environmental regulations, to push for safer gun laws, and to push for universal health care.
And those are the policies that we will enact to, for the people of the United States. This is what will make this country better, safer, and cleaner.
On the fourth day, an unexpected environmental rally caught the attention of many politicians and the media. Both candidates were in attendance. Speeches were made by Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kennedy, with a special performance by Mark Zuckerberg. Arnold Schwarzenegger could not make it to the environmental rally, but expressed strong support for the movement and the initiatives for a cleaner environment.
Global warming and climate change, I feel it and find it strange that none of y'all politicians can see that it's time to change.
We need to focus and prioritize on protecting the environment, on stopping global warming, and ensuring that we move our energy sources to renewable, clean sources, as opposed to gas and oil and coal, which are unfortunately extremely detrimental to the environment.
Although both candidates have focused their policy towards the environment, Nader has made it more clear that he has a larger legislative record regarding environment through his work in the Clean Air Act and the creation of the Environmental Protection Agency. In the midst of the campaign trail, issues within the media have arisen, with a heated brawl occurring in the newsroom of DC Daily over a controversial decision of a reporter unwilling to sign the SPJ Code of Ethics prior to entering a press conference.
There's been no complications at all. Our newsroom has been the most productive in terms of the quality of what we put out and in the prolifery of what we put out.
Shortly before the debate between the two candidates, James Comey, a third-party candidate, announced his campaign focused on dog suffrage.
The creators of this project, who had the idea, they have created a type of vest that dogs can wear, where they are basically able to operate a computer that can speak for them, and they eventually are trained to learn how to use the computer in order to actually communicate with us.
However, the campaign quickly fell out due to a low endorsement rate from major politicians. Moving on to policy issues, a debate occurring on Friday cleared up many of the voters' and politicians' confusion about the candidates' platforms and stances on the issues, with moderators from Politics Broadcasting News Network and Wolf Broadcasting News Network in attendance. Nader and Haley were grilled on multiple issues, the most notable of which being environmental concerns, gun control, tax cuts, education, and the right to an abortion. For the most part, the debate stayed lively and civil, except for when a woman ran onto the set claiming to be the real Nikki Haley. After this disruption, the debate resumed, although both candidates and moderators seemed shocked. Although Haley kept her ground, Nader seemed to be dominating the debate with quick rebuttals and critical questions. After the weekend concluded, both the candidates and the media were back working on full steam on the campaign trail. Beginning Monday morning, Nader and Booker made a special appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, taking questions from curious viewers.
Good morning, my name is Oprah Winfrey and I'll be doing a special edition show called Opinions with Oprah. Today we have two candidates from the same campaign, Ralph Nader and Cory Booker, to talk about their policy stances and just some questions that you guys have asked. What are your views on abortion and how does that differ from the other candidates?
Well, I believe we're both pro-choice. We both believe in a woman's right to choose, and to the best of my knowledge, I believe that Nikki Haley is pro-life, which quite frankly, I find to be a little bit abhorrent. I think that anyone who would obstruct a woman's right to choose whether or not to have an abortion, quite frankly, is somewhat immoral in that. And I'm a big proponent of women's rights, and I think that women absolutely have the right to an abortion.
So why hasn't there been a lot of talk about Mexico and France if there are presidents from both countries here every day?
Well, I think one of the things has been, in the past couple of years, there have been a lot of tension surrounding relationships with our allies, our close allies, such as Mexico and France. Mr. Nader and I, we've taken a very diplomatic stance when it comes to foreign relations. We believe in trusting in our allies, and that way they can reciprocate that trust back to us.
What parts of the military budget are you actually planning on cutting?
Well, we've looked at a variety of options. I want to have the military's input first and foremost before we make an actual decision. And I'd also like for Congress's input as well. I think that I am very qualified to make a lot of decisions. That's why I'm running for President of the United States. However, sometimes I think it is necessary to defer to the experts. And I think in this case, the generals and admirals in the military probably know more about what parts of the budget would be better to cut than I do. And I think we should listen to their input before making a decision.
The duo took questions ranging from foreign to domestic policy inquiries. Among the questions, Nader and Booker stopped to answer the more lighthearted questions regarding their favorite colors or even foods. Shortly after, Democratic vice presidential nominee Cory Booker took time to clarify the rising tensions regarding his relations with Senator Ted Cruz. Images of the two had been speculating for the past few days after Elephant in the Room News initially leaked a photo of the two. All was going planned until the alleged wife of Ted Cruz stormed into the conference and confronted Booker and Cruz. Later in the day, news outlet DC Daily leaked crushing information regarding the financing of Nikki Haley's campaign. According to reporter Lintaro Donovan, Haley accepted an estimated $1,847,000 in recent years from the NRA and $5,000 from Dosol Tobacco. Donations from major energy corporations such as Koch Industries and ExxonMobil are especially striking discord among Haley's previous commitments to the environment. With both campaigns preparing for the election, it's up to the voters to make their choice for the President of the United States. Thank you for turning into Politics Broadcasting News Network for coverage of the 2018 campaign trail.